You know what no one tells you about having kids? That you'll spend the next year, maybe next 5 years, feeling like you've been hit by a truck every single day. And this fatigue is not only affecting women, it also affects fathers too. Oh, I've got experience in that. Now, it's not just sleepless nights. There's something deeper happening in your body, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. And most doctors won't explain this to you. Something that starts during pregnancy, and then it snowballs and gets bigger and bigger, and that exhausting cycle feels impossible to break. If you're a new parent or you're thinking of becoming one, what I'm about to show you, it could be the difference between struggling through those early years, or it could be, thriving through that time. Because here's the thing, this fatigue is not just normal parenting stuff. It's your body sending your urgent signal that something needs attention. And if you ignore those signals, you're setting yourself up for years of struggle that you actually don't have to go through. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 biological systems that get completely disrupted after having a baby and why they create this perfect storm of exhaustion. Why the typical advice to just rest when the baby rests completely misses what actually is happening in your body, and the critical difference between mothers who bounce back with energy versus those that spend their years running on empty and they're just exhausted all the time. And it comes down to what happens before the baby arrives, actually. To really understand why parents lose so much energy after having kids, I want you to picture 2 different bank savings. So let's say this piggy bank here represents all your nutritional reserves, all the vitamins, the minerals, and the essential nutrients your body has stored up over the years. And this bank, the one that smashes, this represents your daily energy savings, the stuff that gets you through each day. So there's only a limited amount, but it's completely broken and depleted. Now, when you're young and child-free, you're making regular deposits into that account. You're sleeping well, you're eating when you're hungry, you might even take care of yourself, and the account stays pretty full. But then pregnancy happens, and here's what nobody really explains. Growing a baby is like having someone else with access to your account. It's making withdrawals around the clock, and it needs that to grow. And the baby needs iron, right? And it takes from your reserves. Calcium for bone development, of course. Yep, that comes from you too. Magnesium, B vitamins, vitamin D. The baby is drawing on everything you've stored up. And if your reserves weren't that full to begin with, well, you can see what happens. If you went into pregnancy already running a bit low, well, you're not just supporting yourself. You're supporting an entire new human being who's growing at an incredible rate. So then the baby arrives, right? And instead of getting a chance to rebuild those reserves, the withdrawals actually speed up. Breastfeeding, if you're not doing it, continues to pull nutrients from the body. And your sleep gets shattered into tiny fragments. And suddenly you're expecting to function on an empty tank. This isn't just about being tired. This is about your body's fundamental energy systems breaking down because they don't have what they need to run properly. And the scary part, what mostly is invisible, you can't actually see it. It's the nutrients inside your body and it's depleted. You're just feeling it on the surface and it's crushing, unrelenting exhaustion, and it makes things harder and harder. So the hormone crash, this is what I'm going to talk about that no one really tells you about. So after giving birth, your body goes through what I can only describe as a hormonal cliff dive. From 9 months, your estrogen and progesterone levels have been sky high, like higher than they'll ever be at any point in your life. And then the moment the placenta comes out, those hormones plummet. We're talking about a drop so dramatic that it would trigger fatigue in anyone. And you're dealing with a newborn at the same time, and all of these hormones are changing and crashing down. Here's what makes this even harder. Prolactin, that's another hormone, surges. That's to support milk production. And while that's beautiful and necessary for the baby, prolactin has this side effect where it basically prioritizes feeding your baby over your own recovery, right? Because the baby's got to grow. So your body is literally diverting resources away from you, helping and healing for you towards making milk. Now, studies show between 40 to 60% of new mothers experience this hormonal fatigue so severe that it feels like having a flu. You know that heavy aching, can't keep your eyes open feeling? That's not just sleep deprivation, it's those hormone changes. That's your hormones trying to recalibrate while your body's running on empty. And here's the kicker, for many women, thyroid function takes a hit too. Up to 64% of new mothers develop what's called subclinical hypothyroidism. It's your thyroid and it's making your metabolism thermostat out of whack. It's working right, everything slows down, it's trying to get you to rest, but you've got the baby, your metabolism slows, your energy production slows, and even thinking you're sluggish and foggy, it's all from your thyroid. I've seen it so many times in my practice. A mother comes in 6 months after birth, still feeling exhausted, and her doctor told her it's just normal, new parenting, it'll pass. But when we actually test her thyroid, her iron levels too, and her vitamin D, we find these measurable deficiencies that are absolutely contributing to how awful she feels. Sleep deprivation is sabotaging your brain as well. Now, let's talk about sleep. Because yes, everyone knows new parents don't sleep. But what people don't realize is how quickly sleep deprivation starts to break down your cognitive function. There was a study of over 100 mothers actually who were getting less than 5 hours of consolidated sleep per night. And I say consolidated because it's not just about total hours, it's whether you're getting deep restorative sleep cycles. These mothers showed a 30% drop in executive function. That's your ability to make decisions, to plan, focus on tasks. Think about what that really means. You're trying to remember if you fed the baby. You're trying to figure out why the baby is crying. You've got it all going on. You're trying to keep track of doctor's appointments and nappy changes and whether you've actually eaten that day. And your brain is operating at 70% capacity. Everything feels harder because it literally is harder for your brain to process information. It's really challenging for new mothers, and it's not just mothers as well. Fathers who share night duties also show a 20 to 25% reduction in REM sleep. That's the deep restorative stage where your brain does most of its healing and memory consolidation. So both parents, they're both walking around in a fog and trying to be patient and present with their baby, but their brains are essentially running on fumes. This really concerning part, that 75% of new parents facing what researchers call dangerous exhaustion levels. That's the real chronic fatigue, that lasting beyond 6 months fatigue. We're talking about exhaustion so severe it increases the risk of forgetting to give medications, making unsafe decisions, even getting into car accidents. It's pretty worrying. I remember one mother who came to see me, she'd driven to the supermarket, walked inside and generally couldn't remember why she was there or even how she got there. I wonder if that might have even happened to you. That moment terrified her. It's scary. And it wasn't because she was careless or a bad parent. It was because her brain was so depleted from months of fragmented sleep that it couldn't function normally anymore. So your body really is running on empty, literally. Here's the thing. It's going to get really interesting from a biochemical perspective. During pregnancy and breastfeeding, your body loses nutrients at an accelerated rate. Iron stores can drop by 30 to 50%. And when your iron is low, you develop anemia, of course, and this condition is where your blood can't carry the oxygen to your muscles and organs. So what happens? Anemia feels like exhaustion, of course, at a cellular level. It's not just I need a nap tide, it's where you can barely lift your arms. and newborn mothers have to carry their baby, but it's difficult. There are vitamin D drops as well. It depends where you live, whether there's enough sun, but 80% of breastfeeding mothers often have low vitamin D, not enough. It's not just about bone health, it's about cellular energy production. When you're deficient, your muscles feel weak as well. Your brain is thinking foggy, and you've got the brain fog, and it can persist and go on and get worse. Magnesium's another one. There was a study of 50 postpartum women that found those mothers were deficient in magnesium more than 2.5 times more to normal people, and that contributes to fatigue as well. Why? Because magnesium is essential for making ATP. That's the energy in the mitochondria. Without enough magnesium, your cells just can't produce enough energy and can't do it efficiently either. And then there's dehydration as well. I could list more and more. If you're breastfeeding, you're losing fluids constantly. Even mild dehydration reduces the blood flow to your muscles by 15 to 20%, which means your endurance drops. Everything feels more effort, and it's even, you're prone to dizziness and headaches and negative symptoms. I had a patient once, beautiful woman, 2 kids under 3, really more stacking on top, just absolutely at the end of her rope. She was drinking 4 cups or 5 cups of coffee a day, I remember a lot, and she still felt like she was moving through quicksand, just everything was a fog. When we ran her blood work and did the test, low iron, low vitamin D, and magnesium was low as well. Everything was so depleted. We started supplementing, and within about 6 weeks, she told me she started to see the light and things started to make sense and feeling more lift in energy. Not perfect, of course, but it's gradually up. She could play with her kids and not feeling like she was absolutely wiped out. Because you see, there's like a snowball effect. Now, it all connects. One part is connected to the other: nutrients, low energy, sleep. And I get this. There are 3 things that crash: hormone crash, sleep crashing, and nutrient depletion. They don't just add up. They multiply each other. They compound. Sleep deprivation increases inflammation in your body by about 25%. And that inflammation, it makes it harder for your gut to absorb nutrients from food. So even if you're trying to eat well, which is hard for your exhausted body to do anyway, you can't actually extract what's needed. There's a video on leaky gut too that's connected to it. At the same time, the constant stress and vigilance of caring for a newborn spikes stress hormones like cortisol. These hormones redirect blood flow away from your digestive system, and they put it into your muscle to run away from danger. Now, again, you're not absorbing nutrients properly. And there's also suppress your immune system and slow down your wound healing. So if you had a C-section, for example, or a tear during delivery, you're recovering more slowly than you should. And there was analysis of 300 families in a study that showed parents dealing with both sleep loss and nutritional deficiencies had 50% higher rates of relationship strain. That makes sense, doesn't it? When you're exhausted, you're irritable, you have less patience, and you can't be present for your partner or your baby. The very thing you want most is to enjoy that family time, that precious time, but it gets strained and it gets harder, and your body's in survival mode. And the statistics really drive this home. 48% of parents in Australia report overwhelming daily stress. That's double the rate of people without children. And this should be really that joy of having a child, but it can sometimes be challenging. And that exhaustion peaks in the first year, which is exactly when you're supposed to be bonding with your baby and adjusting to the new life. Now, the long-term toll is that if you don't address these issues, it can start to create longer-term problems. Over the first 6 to 12 months is really crucial. You can develop insulin resistance, especially if you had gestational diabetes during pregnancy. About 20 to 30% of women who had gestational diabetes go on to develop pre-diabetes by the baby's first birthday. That's quite scary. What does it feel like? Midday crashes, you're eating lunch, and an hour later you're so tired you want to crawl under your desk. Your body isn't processing glucose efficiently anymore, so your blood sugar spikes and then crashes, taking the energy with it. Weight gain happens too, that baby fat coming on after and getting harder and harder to leave. Hormonal dysregulation actually changes how your body stores fat as well. On average, women gain 2 to 5 kilograms in that first year after giving birth. And that has nothing to do with how much you're eating or exercising, it's metabolic. Your cortisol patterns change too. In healthy people, cortisol is highest in the morning. It's what helps you wake up and feel alert, that cortisol. But in stressed mothers, morning cortisol levels rise 15 to 20% above normal. And that might sound like it would give you energy. For a short term it does, but actually chronic elevated cortisol suppresses your thyroid function back to the thyroid. And that's what people call adrenal fatigue. I've also got some videos on that. 57% of parents hit clinical burnout thresholds linked to these cortisol changes. That's quite scary stats. And then there's the financial piece as well. Many parents have to work longer hours to pay for childcare and medical bills, all these expenses that come with a baby. But here's the problem. Fatigue reduces your productivity by 13%. So you're working more hours, but you're getting less done, which creates even more stress. I think about one of my patients. She came to see me 12 months after having a baby. She was suffering from depression, completely exhausted, running on coffee, honestly on the verge of breakdown. She's pushed through the entire pregnancy feeling unwell. Then she's pushed through the first year of baby's life, feeling even worse. When she finally got on a proper protocol, replenishing her nutrients, supporting her hormones, getting herbal help, helping her nervous system calm down so she can actually rest, things started to turn around. She looked at me one day and said, I wish I'd known this before I got pregnant. I wish I'd come to see you then. I hear that a lot. And she was right. When she got better, she realized she was suffering unnecessarily for 2 years. Compared to another patient I worked with before conception, pre-conception care, she built up her reserves, nutritional reserves, and optimized hormones and prepared for that battle of birth. And she was in the best shape before she even tried to get pregnant. And you know what? She coasted through her pregnancy and she had the energy and she felt good. So after having a baby was born, of course she was tired, but not as bad as many patients I see. So what's the moral of the story? Prevention is better than cure. That's the difference. It's not about being superhuman or having an easy baby. It's about whether your body has what it needs to handle that enormous demand of growing and feeding a tiny human, a new human being. What actually helps? Well, so what do you do with all this information I gave you? Well, I don't want you to just tell you how hard it is, and I want you to understand what I'm saying and actually make a difference for you. First, if you're planning to have a baby, preconception care is everything. I can't stress this enough. Building up your nutrient reserves before you conceive. Get your iron checked and optimized, not just basic and yeah, it's okay, really optimal. Make sure your vitamin D levels are good, like actually higher on the level. And I mean, really on the higher levels. Get a practitioner to check that for you. Test your thyroid, your vitamin B levels, your magnesium. Give your body a fighting chance. If you're already pregnant or you've already had a baby, it's not too late either, but you need to be more aggressive about replenishing what's lost. A study in 2023 tracked 150 new mothers. Half got early iron supplementation and half didn't. The supplemented group reduced their fatigue scores by 35% within 6 weeks. 35%. That's the difference between being able to go for a walk versus being stuck on the couch. There's real proof in the pudding. Working with a practitioner who understands functional medicine and nutritional support is really key. Not someone who just tells you, this is normal, it's a normal part of giving birth or having a baby, and send you home. Find someone who actually tests your levels and creates a plan tailored for what your body needs. Prioritizing sleep, however, you can do it. I know that sounds impossible with a newborn, but even getting one longer stretch of consolidated sleep makes a huge difference for your brain. If you have a partner, caring partner, trade off and do turns in looking after each other. One night of deeper sleep could make all the difference. If you can afford postpartum a doula or a night nurse, even for a short time, that's investment as well, worth it. And here's the thing, it doesn't get talked about enough. Partner support matters. There was a Japanese case study where they looked at C-section mothers, and the partners actively shared nighttime feeding and cut recovery time by 2 weeks compared to the others doing it alone. 2 weeks. Your partner involvement isn't just about fairness, it literally changes your physiology and how quickly you heal. If you're a father watching this, you know, and energy matters too. One father in a UK support group I saw on Facebook shared that after his paternity leave, he focused on daily walks and lowered the cortisol. And that simple practice gave him enough energy to handle night shifts on his own. And he avoided that 73% burnout rate that high stress fathers typically face. The research is really clear on this. Early intervention drops persistent fatigue at 3 months after birth. It statistically shows that's really important. It's not just luck, it's putting in the effort and working together. That's what happens when you actually address the root cause instead of trying to push through. Look, I've been working with parents for over 20 years now, and I've seen both sides of this. I've seen the mothers who come in before they conceive and we work on things, and they work to build themselves up and their reserves, and they have such a different experience. I've also seen the mothers who come in afterwards depleted, and unfortunately they didn't get the right support because they just didn't know, wondering why no one told them. You don't have to suffer through those early years. Yes, having a newborn baby is hard. Yes, you'll be tired, but there's a difference between normal tiredness and interrupted sleep and the kind of bone deep, can't function exhaustion that comes from a body running on empty and potentially transforming into autoimmunity. Your body is incredible, resilient and incredible, beautiful, harmony, but it needs the right support. It needs the right nutrients, it needs rest, it needs your stress levels managed. And if you give it those things and nurture it, you'll be amazed at how better you'll feel. If you're struggling right now, please don't just write it off as just being part of being a parent. Get your levels checked. Working with someone who understands the science of postpartum recovery as well is really important, the right practitioner. You deserve that time to spend with your baby. Ready to book an appointment? Check the link in the description. Just want to learn more? Follow on with the next video right here.